How's everybody doing out there today? You're not even on camera, so shut up.
I know. Wait.
Well, today we learned that Trek is not actually a nerd, just a reject, because he has not seen this movie yet. What the fuck, man? Today we're bringing you part 1 of the Deathly Hallows. We decided that we're going to break it up into 2 different episodes and keep along with the movie trilogy rather than going with the book trilogy. So keeping the name of the show true to itself.
And then you can make comparisons.
Exactly. Bobbitt is just finishing up watching this movie now, so for somebody who says I'm not going to say anything every week.
I'm still mocking you from fucking earlier. Fucking asshole.
Bobbitt's just finishing watching up this movie now. We have him here on Skype with us as usual. How you doing, Bobbitt?
Good. And anytime JP says he's not going to talk, he usually talks.
Pretty much, yeah. And Ronnie, he hasn't cooked it yet, so he wants to sit there.
Oh, I'm gonna make it here in a little bit. That's why I'm not going to be on the show very much tonight. Plus the Badgers are on, so.
For lunch, he heated up a pizza for us, so.
I cleaned the house today, goddammit. This should be good enough, motherfuckers.
Beginning to the movie here, this is, as the description says, this is definitely the darkest of all of the movies, just because of where the story takes you. Ronnie says, we'll get to Stefan. But again, this movie, the story progresses even further into, they now know that their mission, Wendy is causing a bit of pain right now, Ronnie, so, at the end of the last movie, all 3 decided that they would go on the mission together to find basically these soul items that are keeping Voldemort alive. And that is these Horcruxes that he made. So we open up this movie with the 3 of them getting together and finally embarking out on the journey to find all of them, with no clue where to even begin looking. They have the locket already. They already had the locket, which Rubius Black had found and hidden before, and attempted to destroy before, once he realized what it was. So they've been carrying that around with them throughout this whole movie. Bobbitt, why don't you take us through the beginning of this movie?
Okay. So basically, it shows Harry inside of the house. They start off with, let's be honest, it's been a series staple. And he's looking in the downstairs part, and where his room originally was in Sorcerer's Stone. And he looks inside, and all of a sudden, there's a knock on the door. And Harry opens the door, and there's Hagrid, Ron, Hermione, and all of them starts budging in. And I can't remember that dude's name, the dude with the weird eye.
Mad-Eye Moody.
Yeah, Mad-Eye Moody. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shut up, JP. So Mad-Eye Moody shows off this potion. I can't remember what it was for, but it basically turned everybody in Harry Potter.
It's called the Polyjuice Potion. They used it in the first movie.
Ah, I forgot. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. So yeah, it's weird seeing Harry Potter in a bra. I'm not gonna lie.
That was Floor. And she was very adamantly declaring, "Do not look at me, Bill. I am hideous."
Like, I would love to see how that scene went, like, backstage.
The behind the scenes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Having to have Harry, I mean, Daniel Radcliffe sit there and cross-dress and be like, "Oh dear God, I have to wear this ugly thing." Hey, but he knows firsthand what a bra feels like.
Did you want to take over from here, Heather?
Sure. All of this, just before they start budging in, this is all, they had sent the Dursleys off in secret so that they could protect not only the family but the neighborhood as well. This is all a plan to move Harry safely to Hogwarts or to any kind of safe location that they need to go to. So, hence the need for the Polyjuice Potion, because once they're all dressed exactly the same as Harry.
Because Harry's, the reason why, and that's the last thing I'm going to say, is because he still has the mark on him. He has not turned 17, I think it is.
Yes.
So he still has the mark on him, so they can still tell where he's at.
They can still trace him, yes.
Yes.
They get him out of the house, all the other Harrys come out, and they all go their separate ways. That's when we get into the trouble with Death Eaters showing up and starting to attack each and every single one of them, only to find out that the true Harry Potter is the only one that's protected by Hedwig. Which, unfortunately, this is the last movie that we see Hedwig in. Which, for those of you who don't remember, that's his owl. His great big Snow White owl.
I want to bring this up. What is this movie series obsession with killing birds?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's quite interesting.
It's like they hate birds or something.
Pretty much. From there, because Harry is with Hagrid, which they felt it's only right that Hagrid be the one to carry the real Harry, considering he's the one who brought him to the house in the first place. So, with that being said, Hagrid and Harry fly off, and one of the Death Eaters gets in a lucky shot and actually basically stuns the hell out of Harry, and that's when Voldemort shows up on a cloud of smoke, because God forbid he use a broom and be like a normal wizard. No, he's got to travel by cloud, because this motherfucker is just extra.
Well, I mean, apparently he's premium.
Exactly. That very well could be Trek. At this moment, Harry is basically incapacitated when Voldemort goes to attack. However, Harry is insistent that his wand reacts to protect himself and fights back against Voldemort. Now, those in the magic community know that that's impossible, and all just think that he just acted out of instinct. Yes, he traveled by cloud. They're a Trekipedia.
He was a cloud. Get the point, son. Shit.
I forget where it is they go. Where they actually end up going, because Hagrid's knocked unconscious as well, and where they end up crash landing. Is it the Weasleys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Into the pond. Into
the pond outside.
Into the swamp.
Into the swamp outside of the Weasley's house. Hagrid gets woken up. Harry and him go hobble up to the house, and they're met instantly by Remus Lupin and Mrs. Weasley. who Mrs. Weasley, immediately being the motherly figure that she is, tries to bundle him up, but Remus takes him aside first and asks him a serious question of what was on my desk the first time that you came into my office. Harry answers the question correctly, and that's when they know for sure we do indeed have the right Harry.
Then Shacklebot shows up.
Yes. Shacklebot shows up, and I was just distracted by Trek. Really, dude? Really?
Come on.
Okay.
Shacklebot asks him a question.
Oh. Shacklebot asks Remus the question. They verify who they are. They all go into the house. And wait, the others.
And for Shacklebot, the question was, what was the last thing that
Dumbledore said to each
of us before he died? And Remus said, Harry is our last hope. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Did it again.
Yeah.
Just call me Brittany.
I'm going to start calling you Kanye.
Hey, I am the white Kanye.
Yeah, I'm not giving birth to Jesus or Northwest here, so.
Southeast, goddammit.
No, you're still just a reject. I'm sorry. You're not a full-blown nerd until you watch the entire Harry Potter series. Sorry.
Come on, Trackster.
When it comes down to everything, the best part of this opening is after the twins show up and one has crashed. He gets brought into the house. He's laid on the couch. And, of course, in true Weasley fashion with these twins, when I think it was Fred who lost it. Fred was on the couch?
It was.
Okay. So George asks Fred, how are you? And he responds with holy. And it's because he's lost an ear. So he's holy.
That scene was brutal. I'm not gonna lie.
It was hard to watch that scene, yes, but he's holy because he's now missing an ear.
I thought it was fucking hilarious.
I did too. So everybody's together. They're getting ready. This whole big thing, the whole reason why that it was such a big deal that everybody got together was because it is Bill and Fleur Delacour's wedding coming up very soon. And for those of you who don't know, Bill is one of the older brothers to Ron and the twins. So. And Ginny. And Percy, for that matter. I think he's the oldest out of all the Weasley children. But they're all there to celebrate his marriage. And at the time, you also have Harry, Ron, and Hermione figuring out their plans to go take care of these Horcruxes and all of that. So we fast forward now to the wedding in and of itself. Everything's going great. Everybody's having fun. This is where we see for the first time Luna Lovegood's father, who is the main editor and writer for the Daily Prophet. Not the Daily Prophet, no, the other magazine.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
Do you remember the name of that magazine, Bobbitt? The Quibbler.
You would ask something obscure like that. Damn it.
The Quibbler.
It's the Quibbler.
You're good.
Yes, I remembered it. I'm sorry. This is the joke magazine to the Daily Prophet, basically. That's what it's viewed as. Because there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories and very outlandish things within this magazine. But he is the owner, editor, and writer for the Quibbler. And he's as eccentric as Luna herself, so we learn where she learned it from. He is very enthralled to have this conversation with Harry after Harry had learned that Victor Crumb was at the wedding and had a very heated altercation with somebody else, with actually Luna's father, because he's wearing the symbol of the Deathly Hallows, which is the triangle with the circle and the line through the center. Now, it's not until later on that we learn exactly what the Deathly Hallows are, but we do find out that we have seen all 3 items already.
When we get to the Deathly Hallows, can I please say what they are?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yay!
Harry's on his way to talk to Victor Crumb. He gets interrupted by them, and Luna sits there and goes, "Yeah, he really didn't want to talk to us, Dad, so let's just keep moving on," in her own famous way.
He's preoccupied.
I can see the thought leaving his eyes now, so it's like... In her blunt little way, she saves the situation. Harry runs over, talks to Victor, and finds out the problem. And it's all about that symbol. That it's a big, major issue for him. It's also in this movie that we learn Rita Skeeter has written a novel on Harry's life, essentially. Or actually, Dumbledore's life.
Yeah.
Which, of course, includes a lot of Harry towards the end of it because of the fact of the close connection between the two. Of course, most wizards view it as a trash novel, but a lot of people took everything she wrote to heart. So it's something that really changed their opinions. And Harry bumps into a few of the elders within the Weasley family. And they start talking about it, and that's when a new name pops up, and that's Bethelda Bagwell, who happens to live in Harry's childhood town, little childhood village. Oh boy, what's up, Bobbitt?
That lady creeps the hell out of me.
She creeped everybody out when she first showed up, and I think that was the point behind her. At this point, Harry had heard enough. He moved away from the table. He's going to find Ron and Hermione, so that they could continue on with the celebration. And then the next thing you know, there is a whole ruckus outside, and there is basically a Patronus/message ball sent into the tent, saying that the Ministry of Magic has fallen. The Dark Lord is now in control, in a sense. And that's when everything goes chaotic. People are running around, and they're aspirating out of there and trying to get away as fast as possible because they know Death Eaters are on the way. It's at this moment that Hermione grabs onto Ron and Harry and apparates them out of there and just goes to the last place she can remember to go, which ends up being Dead Square of London. Dead center of London. And because of that, she sat there, she's like, I don't know why I thought of this, but meanwhile, we remember the beginning of the movie, she sits there and actually obliviates the memory of her from her parents' minds. So to her parents, she had never been born. So she's essentially separating herself from her family to keep them safe. So they're running around the streets of London trying to get somewhere safe. She's got her tiny little bag with her that, of course, she's put a charm on to make everything nice. And they find a dark alley to go change their clothes in and then start planning from there. And it's at that moment that Hermione remembers that her and Ginny had baked Harry a cake for his birthday. And he sat there and he's like, I'm a little bit more concerned about other objects right now rather than my birthday. So you're good. It can wait. They hide out in a little coffee shop, which at the end, 2 Death Eaters walk in and try to attack them in a way because they know who they are. All behind the barista's back after they had made their order for coffee. And the barista hears nothing until she turns around, sees there's a giant mess, and just goes, what?
Well, it's like how it is at Starbucks.
Pretty much.
They don't even socialize with you anymore.
Exactly.
Damn millennials.
Exactly. From there, they figure out, they stun the bad guys, they figure out, who they are, and that's when Ron wants to kill them. However, Hermione talks them out of it. Nice try, Ronnie. Hermione steps forward and obliviates their memories. And that's when Harry, Hermione, and Ron end up on the run again. It's at this moment that they've figured out that they gotta do something. Bobbitt, you want to take over for this part of the movie?
This one's coming to a blank, I'm sorry.
This is where they decide they have to get into the Ministry of Magic, one way or another, at this point in the movie, to figure out what's going on. So, Hermione works her brilliance, brews up a polyjuice potion, and they get 3 separate pieces of DNA, I guess you could say. 3 separate pieces of hair from people working within the Ministry to put into their sections of potion. They drink it, and then they make their way into the Ministry of Magic.
Okay, I have this part.
Okay.
This part I remember. Sorry, my memory's kind of 50-50 right now because freaking driving school. Anyway.
I know.
So, they notice that people are the entryway into the Ministry of Magic. Weirdly, is through a bathroom of all things. Don't know why. So you got this whole lot of people. These 3 gentlemen go in, and you don't see them. And Harry's like, "What do we do here?" And Ron's like,
I don't know.
"Don't worry, you gotta flush yourself." And when that scene happened, I was literally thinking, what if the toilet's clogged?
Yeah, exactly. Talk about a traffic jam.
What if somebody Dozovich that motherfucker?
Like I said, talk about a traffic jam.
Pretty much. Anyway, so Harry literally stands in the toilet, literally flushes himself like a shitter, and he's like, whoop.
Once they get into the Ministry of Magic, they go off to their separate ways to try and get things figured out. And it's at this time that they realize that there are trials going on. And the persona that Ron had taken on, his wife, is actually in one of the trials that's going on. Now, at this point, we know Voldemort has a lot of agents within the Ministry of Magic itself, but also a lot of those under the Confundus charm. Yes. Quite a few employees were also under the Confundus charm. So, and essentially, Voldemort was indeed in charge of the Ministry of Magic at this point. In this trial, we see, yet again, our favorite person that we all just so adore, Dolores Umbridge. She's running. They did have the ring. They had the ring because she was wearing the locket.
I know they didn't kill 2 fucking Horcruxes in a row.
I'm right, Bobbitt. She was wearing the locket, right?
Yeah, she's wearing the fucking locket. Yes. But not the ring. The ring's already destroyed, if I remember correctly.
No, the ring was on a necklace and they were carrying it with them.
It was.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yep. I'm sorry. It's been
you watched this movie, damn!
Well, no, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. I don't remember I don't remember them destroying the ring, though. That's the thing. That's where I don't remember.
Right.
So that's why I forget about the ring. Go ahead. It's fine.
So, she's under this trial because she was being accused of stealing her wand. Because only true wizards, meaning the pure blood wizards, would be able to have a wand. So, she's in for that. She's on trial for that crime, in a sense. And that's when they realize that Dolores Umbridge is wearing the actual locket. So during this trial, they cause a distraction, and they get the locket off of her. Okay. I have no idea what he's trying to do here.
Snapchat.
They get the locket off of her. I don't exactly remember how. Do you remember, Bobbitt?
Oh.
Okay. From there, the Polyjuice potion is starting to wear off, so they're starting to become themselves again, and they're also trying to get out of the Ministry of Magic at the same time. So it's made. This is the part where everything becomes very, very nail biting, because you get the people that sit there and there's Harry Potter, and then running off through the crowd trying to get out. They eventually do escape with the locket in tow, and from there, Hermione meets up with them, and I believe it's at this point that she tries to apparate all 3 of them away, and Ron's arm gets splinched.
Flinched. Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and this is where they end up in the forest. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, when you apparate and if you have anything caught, it ends up being a very traumatic injury that can, if you're not careful, can actually cause death. So, Hermione quickly goes about working on trying to heal Ron and get him stable before they start moving. They do that. Ron is stabilized, and from there, Hermione starts setting up this invisible shield, in a sense, around them. And magically, just because of an extender charm she has on her purse, ends up having the same tent that they used for the Quidditch World Cup in her bag, already packed.
I would love to know that freaking spell, because that would be so useful.
It would be. Could you imagine doing that to your car and just going shopping?
Yeah, exactly.
From there, they start traveling around trying to figure out what to do with the locket, how to take care of the ring, and how to find other Horcruxes. I'm drawing a little bit of a blank here, Bobbitt. Can you help me out?
My mind. Okay, you ever see those TVs like with the rabbit ear antenna on? Like, if you go to a certain channel, you might get it. You might get screen. Sometimes you might get the thing.
The snow, yeah.
That's my mind at the moment. It's like a halfway working rabbit ear television. And unfortunately, it's static at the moment.
Okay. So I'll tell. At one point in this movie, we had learned that Ron's father had actually created a certain radio for the Wizarding World that could pick up these radio stations from the wizards themselves. And at the moment, the only thing this radio station is doing is reading off the names of people that have been killed within the Wizarding World by Death Eaters. And it's basically like pirate radio, where they're also giving the latest news on Death Eater spottings and Voldemort spottings and all of that, and basically trying to keep everybody safe while also getting the word out there behind the Ministry of Magic's back, in a sense. That this is where, as they're traveling and as they're each taking turns carrying the ring, it starts to have a negative effect on them. It's much like the ring from Lord of the Rings, where depending on who's carrying it and their stature and their willpower is how well they're able to resist that ring. Which is why throughout most of the movie it's Frodo carrying it. And you can see how towards the end of The Lord of the Rings, Frodo is just so diminished from it. Well, with the Voldemort ring, which is actually his family crest, you can see how it wears and tears on each and every one of them in their own different way. Hermione becomes a little weaker, Harry becomes more despondent, and Ron just becomes vicious at times.
No, he just becomes an ass.
Yes. That too. With that happening and going on, it makes it hard for them to really be a cohesive unit in a way. Eventually, it starts a fight between Ron and Harry. And it's a very nasty fight.
Yes.
Ron sits there, takes the ring off, throws it at Harry, and says, "Do it on your own then," and takes off. Harry and Hermione sit there and are bewildered in a way, you could say, about the whole thing.
Well, he does ask Hermione to come with him.
Yes, and he does ask Hermione to come with him, and Hermione says, "No, we have to complete this mission, and Harry cannot do it on his own." So she chooses to stay, and that upsets Ron even more, and off he goes. Off Harry and Hermione go, and they have this scene where the two of them finally just say fuck it all and just have a moment to themselves, where Harry turns on the radio and puts on some music for them to dance to, and they just have that moment to basically relieve their stress and laugh for a moment, just to be at peace. Just to remember, they're 17. They're not 37, they're 17. They're kids doing an adult's job, basically. From this, they jump around several different places, all trying to find how to destroy these Horcruxes, trying to find the next one, and trying to figure out, what possibly could be the hint for the next one. It's at this time that the Death Eaters are roaming around the forests now, looking for them. One of the times, they come awfully close, because they smell Hermione's perfume. But they don't see Hermione. So...
I just imagine the Death Eater going, Lilac, she's over here!
Pretty much. It's very close to what happens in the movie. Excuse me. From there, we have Ron and Hermione and Harry taking turns watching overnight their position, and at one point Harry spots a light off in the distance in the forest. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, because Harry also has this piece of mirror with him that he constantly looks into and constantly sees a glaring blue eye staring back at him briefly before it moves away. Now this piece of mirror, you don't find out exactly what it is and what it's for until Deathly Hallows Part 2, but this convinces him that this piece of mirror convinces him Dumbledore is still alive in one way or another. So Hermione had read Rita Skeeter's book, and Harry started asking her questions about it, and it's at that point that he decides, I want to go to the village I was born in. Hermione tries to talk him out of it because that's exactly what Voldemort would want him to do. So, of course, he convinces her to go anyway, and they end up in the village where his parents are buried and where he was actually born.
I think over here.
Sure.
Alrighty, so while they're in the village thingy, majigger, they go to the graveyard, and this is one little detail that Heather skipped over. They look at this book, and the book has got the Deathly Hallows symbol, which, if you don't know, it's a triangle with a circle in the middle and the line going through it.
Yep.
And, okay, well, that's important because when they're in the graveyard, Hermione walks off a gravestone, and it's got that symbol on it. And then they go to the grave of Harry's parents. And then they run into this old lady. Well, no, Hermione goes, Harry, I think there's somebody watching us.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows this old lady in the far-off distance watching them. And then, of course, they run into her. They go inside her house, and tell me if I'm skipping over anything important, Heather.
Nope, you're doing good so far. Actually, there's one important thing. The first gravestone. Do you remember the name?
Tom Riddle.
There you go.
So, while they're in this old lady's house, they're trying to get... Harry's trying to talk to her because he knows her.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry goes upstairs. Hermione stays downstairs. And I can't remember what Hermione runs into. I know Harry goes upstairs, and he goes in this one room, and she sees the locket, and he goes, and I can't remember what happens right at that moment. Anyway, this is the part that creeped me out the most. She all of a sudden starts decaying, and she turns into a giant freaking snake.
Do you want to fill everybody in on whose snake it is?
Voldemort snake.
There we go.
What's the snake's name?
Shit.
Nagini.
Nagini, thank you. And it turns out that old lady was a Horcrux, apparently. No, the snake is a Horcrux.
You shouldn't have given that away, but whatever. It's alright. Go ahead. It's alright, man. It's alright.
I'm trying to damn it.
I know you are.
So,
it's alright.
So they're fighting the snake, and Harry's lung gets broken. Um, Heather, do you want to go from here?
I certainly can. Just to fill in the small little gaps that he missed there. What Hermione bumps into was actually a stack of books, and this house is pitch black and cluttered everywhere. So of course that just makes the scene even more creepier.
Dingy and dusty.
Yes. And it makes this one scene just that much more dramatic, because with everything being so dark, dingy, dusty, disgusting, as they're fighting with the snake, Harry breaks through a wall into a very brightly lit room that was done up for a baby boy. So that would sit there and suggest that that was the house that Harry was born in. Now this old lady, Bobbitt, you want to tell everybody who she was?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hilda Bagshot. She used to be a storyteller. She used to write books.
And she was a very, very dear friend to Dumbledore and the Potters. So, that's the connection there. Hermione and Harry manage to escape. Nagini survives as well. And they apparate out of there and get somewhere back into the forest again where it's safe. Now at this time, as they're traveling and it's Harry's turn to take watch, he's using Hermione's wand at this time. He spots a light off in the distance in the forest and feels compelled to follow it. Well, Hermione is sleeping, so he can't really consult her about it, and just brashly goes on and follows her off. Follows this light off. Eventually, the light leads him to a lake, where down in the lake, as he's looking, he spots something very special that should not be there. Any guesses as to what it was, Bobby?
The sword of Gryffindor.
There we go. So, it's the dead center of winter here. So this lake is frozen over. Harry's climbing out over the ice, looking down, sees the sword, and decides, I'm going to strip naked and go get it. It's like, great idea, mate. Great idea. He does so, grabs the sword, and tries to come back to the surface, only to find he lost where he made the hole in the ice. So he's desperately trying to get out of this water, desperately trying to get out. Then suddenly he spots the ray of light again, and also spots somebody on the edge of the lake, which explodes the ice and gives him the ability to get out. And lo and behold, it's actually Ron. Ron returns at this point. From there, Ron sits there and calls Harry crazy. They start talking again, and basically both apologizing to each other. But then
Hermione shows up.
Hermione, they make it back to the camp. Hermione comes out and basically punches Ron in the face.
No, she punches him in the chest. She doesn't punch him in the face.
And yells at him, "Where have you been?"
And they've destroyed the locket, by the way.
Yes.
Which was an interesting...
That in of itself. Do you want to take that scene?
What, they destroyed the locket?
Yes.
Yes, I got it. Basically, what it is, Harry speaks, basically speak to the locket. The locket opens, and it's Harry and Hermione basically talking shit to him, saying how he doesn't compare to the Chosen One, how he's not this, he's not that, and then for some reason they start moaning. I don't know why that happened, but It happened, apparently. So, Ron gets pissed off, uses a sword, and destroys the locket.
Right. And when Bobbitt says they were speaking in Basilisk tongue, it wasn't Basilisk tongue, it's Parselmouth. That's snake speak. That's what
Same
they
thing.
That's what they call it. You're good, man. I'm just, you're good. Go ahead.
I might want to go check on that.
It's fine. It's simmering shit.
And spitting out water at the same time.
Who cares? It's fine.
Anyway, from there, they get back together. Harry asks Ron how he was able to find them. And he holds up the one item that had been given to him from Dumbledore through his will, which is something we forgot to talk about at the very beginning. Because Scrimgeour had come to the Weasleys' house just before the wedding to read over Dumbledore's will and give them the items that were left to them. Which is why Gryffindor's sword plays such a strong part in this movie at this point as well. Because in the beginning, Ron is given the light deluminator.
And if you know what it is, if you've seen the movie, it's used at the beginning of the very first episode, very first one. He uses it to illuminate the lights on the street. Dumbledore does.
Yes. Hermione is given the
book. That book.
Yes.
The tales of the, I can't remember the name.
Beetle and something.
Bartle and Bailey. Beetle and Bartle's book of tales or something.
Right. And then Harry is given the first ever golden snitch he ever caught, which on it is inscribed, "I open at the end."
I open at the close.
At the close. Same thing, basically. And also within the will, he was also left Gryffindor's sword, but Scrimgeour says that is not something that Dumbledore can freely give to anybody. They argue that the sword had gone to Harry, so it rightfully is his anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But then Scrimgeour sits there and tells them the sword may present itself to anybody within need. It does not make it their property.
That's true.
So that's why it's such great importance that this sword just happened to show up right where they are. Anyway. So, with that also being said, I think it's in Deathly Hallows Part 2, we find out a very interesting fact with the Gryffindor sword as well. So, definitely keep your seats, hold tight for next week for that episode. Ron sits there and says, anytime I opened this, I heard your voices, and it led me to you.
So it does more than illuminate.
Exactly. It does more than take the light away.
It helps people find their way that
Yep.
are lost.
So now the gang's all back together. They have 2 Horcruxes destroyed. And now they're moving on. At this point now, they finally get to actually finding out the next clue for the next Horcrux. Which is not a very easy thing to figure out, as it takes them the rest of this movie to figure out what it is. This is where they meet up and find the Lovegood's home, as strange and unusual as it is, which you expect it to be because it's the Lovegoods. And that's when they find a very disheveled looking and tired looking Mr. Lovegood.
I can't remember his fucking name.
I can't remember his first name either. He reluctantly invites them in after very paranoidly looking out in the background of them. They get invited in, they all sit down, he offers them tea, offers them the latest issue of the Quibbler, which of course, good marketing, that's what you do. From there, I believe it's him. I believe it's Mr. Lovegood that brings up the story of the Deathly Hallows in and of itself.
Yes.
That's when Hermione remembers the book that she had been given. And she recounts the tale of the three brothers. Now, these three brothers were traveling along.
I want to do this one, if you
Sure,
don't mind.
go right ahead. You're more than welcome.
Okay. Tell me if some of this stuff is different from in the book from what it was in the movie.
Sure.
So basically, these three brothers, built a bridge, and somehow they escaped death, and Death was like, "Alright, you bested me, so..."
Well, it's because they built the bridge that they bested Death, because this river that they were trying to cross was the world's most deadliest river.
Right. And he's like, "Okay, so I'll give you anything that you want." Well, the first brother, pretty much, Death gives the first brother the Elder Wand. And I can't remember what he said or what was said on that one.
I can help you out with that.
I got him. So the elder brother, the oldest brother, asked for a wand, the most powerful. Want you to make me the most powerful wand in the world. So he took some wood from an elder tree and made a wand.
I want to best any foe I come across.
So he built him the elder wand, gave it to the brother. The second brother came up and asked for
the stone.
Anything. I want to be able to bring my loved ones back to life. So the Death reached into the river and pulled out a stone and handed him what is called what's it called, Bobbitt?
Stone of Resurrection.
The Resurrection Stone.
The third brother, same difference.
The third brother said, "I wish to not be seen by you until I'm
ready to
be called."
Therefore making him the most humble brother, and Death then cut a piece of his own robe, creating the invisibility cloak.
The cloak of invisibility.
Can I get to how they died?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Alright. So the first brother used the Elder Wand to kill the wizard that the brother has been battling. So, and Death pretty much kills the first brother. And the second brother...
It wasn't actually Death. What it was is he goes on, becomes the most powerful wizard because of this Elder Wand. He goes to sleep and actually has the wand stolen from him, and then he is defeated with his own wand.
He is killed with that. His throat is slit.
Alright. And thanks, guys. The second brother, with the stone, with the resurrection stone, walks in his house, and the woman he planned to marry before she passed away is suddenly there. And she doesn't want to. And he finds out that she doesn't need to be with the land of the living, pretty much.
She doesn't know why she's there. She doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, so he kills himself to be with her. And the third brother manages to escape death all these years, and like when he's old and about to die, he gives the cloak to his son, and Death kills him.
Death greets him as an old friend, and they walk off together.
Yes.
And so that's when Harry, Ron, and Hermione all figure out that they've all seen and held at one point in their lives thus far, except for the Stone of Resurrection, something of the Deathly Hallows. Or at least Harry's purely convinced of this. Now it's at this point that Mr. Lovegood is starting to get a bit antsy. They try to leave, but he keeps them there. And from that, you also gather that something's not right anymore. You can tell by his behavior alone, you can tell. And it's at that time that Hermione sits there and asks, how long has she been gone? Meaning Luna. And at the same time also meaning, when did they kidnap her? When did they take her from you? And that's when he broke down and told them that it had been several months at that point. And that's also when they find out the next clue. Because they go up to her room and they see her room. And that's when they get the next clue as to what the next Horcrux is. And eventually, by the end of this movie, they figure out that it's the crown of Ravenclaw. Which, even the ghost of the Ravenclaw house is very keen on keeping hidden because it has a very terrible power to it. Which, of course, it's the Horcrux. And we all know how those things go now. So, when they try to leave again, he tries to stop them. And it's all because they realize he's called the Death Eaters to his house to try and capture them, because they are the main targets of the Death Eaters at the moment. So it's at this point that they apparate, they end up back in the forest, they take off running, but there's still Death Eaters right on their tail. So Hermione, thinking quickly, stops everybody and hits Harry in the face with a disfiguring spell. And it just changes the look of his face and everything. He takes even takes his glasses off and hides them. With how his face is disfigured from the spell, you can't really tell the scar. So the Death Eaters catch up with the three of them. They start asking their names. Harry gives Dursley as his name. Dudley Dursley as his name to try and keep up with the persona. But they sit there and they recognize the other two, no question about it. So they get taken back to civilization. Bobbitt, do you want to tell the people what house they end up at?
Hang on, that's all I'm taking my time. I'm thinking really hard. I don't. Go ahead. I know I'm gonna feel stupid.
The Malfoy Manor. They get taken to Lucius Malfoy and Draco Malfoy's house, where, upon seeing them and Narcissa, they are worse for wear. At this point, they're basically prisoners within their own house. They are starting to regret returning to the Death Eaters, but they knew if they did not, they would be among the dead. So, them being there, Bellatrix Lestrange is there, Greymane is there, and Wormtail is there too. Peter Pettigrew is there as well. The Death Eaters bring them in. Bellatrix is looking at Harry like, yeah, this possibly could be him. I don't know. But she looks at Ron and Hermione like, these two are definitely them. No question about it. So that's when she turns around and says, call him. Meaning get Voldemort there. He'll settle this whole thing right now. Harry and Ron are then brought down into the basement, where we see three very unusual guests in the basement dungeon as well. Bobbitt, you want to take a guess at least one of them?
Two of them.
Okay.
Dobby and Luna.
Close. Dobby is actually not one of the prisoners, but Luna Lovegood is there. The goblin from the very first movie at Gringotts is there. And
I was wondering where the hell he's been this whole time.
Exactly. And Ollivander is there. The wand vendor. So they're being kept prisoners with them. They hear, this is where this movie gets really, really dark, and we are coming up to the end of the movie here with this. They hear poor Hermione screaming at the top of her lungs from the dungeon, and they bring the camera up, and that's when you see Bellatrix Lestrange not using magic for once, but actually being incredibly cruel and barbaric by having Hermione pinned to the floor while she is carving mudblood into her arm with the tip of a dagger. So it's at that, asking where Harry is and where Dumbledore is and all of this. And it's at that point that Harry sits there and says, "We need a plan to get out of here." And that is when Dobby shows up. Dobby apparates into the dungeon, and they all wonder, how the hell is that possible? And that's when Dobby says, "I'm a house elf. I can go anywhere I want." From that, they formulate a plan. They send Dobby up and lure Wormtail down into the dungeon. From there, they attack him, knock him out, and escape the dungeon. I was wondering the same thing myself. They get upstairs. They regain. Harry uses Wormtail's wand at this point. They start attacking everybody. Dobby sits there and does his best to help out. They gather up Hermione. It's at this point of the movie where even I sat there in the movie theaters and started to cry. Because Dobby is then swinging from the chandelier, grabbing onto the hand of Harry first. Just as Bellatrix Lestrange throws her dagger at him. And just before he apparates. And it's from there, when they arrive at beachfront property, that we find out the beloved character of Dobby has been killed.
But he really wasn't in the movie that much. That's the thing. He's only in it for like 10 minutes at a time.
It's true, but he was still the most beloved character.
He must have been fucking like in the book a lot or something, because
he was actually. He was in the book a lot more than he was in the movie.
Well, then that's why. Because when he died, I was like, why is Harry so distraught? It's hard to understand. I'm not trying to sound like decrepit and shit.
I'm gonna clear that up for you right now, actually, because in the book, actually, Dobby lands a job as a house elf for Hogwarts.
Okay, see if they would have fucking clarified that in the fucking movie, it would have made much more sense. It probably would have been, well, that's just sad.
Right.
But I was just like, he's a fucking troll. He looks ugly as fuck. He's dead. He looks like a fucking mouse. It's alright. But go ahead.
You don't know the awesomeness of a Dobby.
Exactly.
Oh, you stop talking about a Trek, drop it. Shit.
Anyway, they have a nice little burial service for Dobby. They have the sword propped up in the corner while they speak to the goblin from the bank. I don't remember about what. Do you remember, Bobbitt?
My balls, your chin.
Hang on, I'll tell you in like 2 minutes.
They also talk to Ollivander about the
wand.
About the Elder Wand. They speak to them also about. Actually, this is one of the first mentions of Grindelwald as well.
Okay.
Because the Grindelwald crime is linked into this. in a way. They asked the goblin how it was possible for the Gryffindor sword to be outside of the bank if it's supposed to be in the bank and kept under lock and key. And kept so safe. Because it's actually in this movie that we find out that the sword of Gryffindor is actually supposed to be in the bank vault of Bellatrix Lestrange. So, from there we have the final goodbye for Dumbledore, for Dobby, as they bury him, and the movie closes with the three of them looking out over the ocean, still trying to figure out that last riddle for that next Horcrux. And that's when they figure out it's the crown of Ravenclaw. And that's when we close out this movie and are left with what's possibly going to happen for the next movie. Which is going to be quite interesting because it's at this point that the movie starts to become lighter in a way.
Well, it doesn't get lighter until the middle of the movie.
Like I said, it starts to, because now you see them actually having a plan of action and actually being on the road to actually getting stuff done and actually getting to the point of, okay, we can do this and we can beat Voldemort for good. Which is what you're going to get with the next movie, but that's the end of this movie here. Bobbitt, you want to go over some of your more favorite scenes of this movie?
The spider.
Yeah.
The spider.
Fuck no. Probably when the old lady turns into the snake.
Nagini? Yeah.
Yep, yeah, that's okay. That is definitely
Like,
no, go ahead, Bobbitt.
That was just creepy and badass at the same time.
Right. That's definitely one of the scenes of the movie where it's just like, alright, this is a kid's movie, and they just took a scene from a horror movie.
Actually, it stopped being a kid's movie after about the fourth one.
Close enough.
After the third one. The third one was still a kid's movie. It was more of a teenager movie. Now it became more of a older teenager movie because all of the kids that started reading these books were teenagers by this time.
Mm-hmm.
So they could get a little darker. Go ahead.
I know something you... did you mention that Voldemort got Dumbledore's wand?
At the end.
At the end, yes. Just before they rolled credits, they show a shadowy figure walking up to the tomb that Dumbledore is buried in and opening it and removing the Elder Wand, which...
And it was really creepy because fucking Voldemort got right in fucking Dumbledore's face.
Yep. And it had that sinister smile on his face as he took the wand from him.
And then...
Okay.
Go ahead.
I know how this was supposed to be serious. I would have left my ass off if Dumbledore also went...
that would have been... I was waiting for him to do it.
I was waiting for that moment of Dumbledore to open his eyes and go, not yet, motherfucker, not yet.
But then it wouldn't have... Oh, you got him. Got him.
It would not have been very conducive to the movie if they had done that. So with that being said, I think we will end the stream here. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Sorry, I had a football moment.
And we will be coming back to you next week for Real Movie Review number 8, Deathly Hallows Part 2. And at the end of that, we will be revealing our next series that we are going to be reviewing, as we had decided on that today. Which, Trek, if you would like, we would like to invite you to be a major part of it, because this is something that is very near and dear to your heart, JP's heart, Bobbitt's heart, and mine as well. You can earn back your nerd card with this one, okay? So let me know.
Well, actually, we're going to add you to the call.
So with that being said, you folks have a great night, and we shall see you next week, and as well as Monday and Tuesday for Raw and SmackDown live reactions. Are you streaming the Packers game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm gonna stream it.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to actually do play-by-play for you guys.
And
instead
hopefully
of,
not break his wrist.
and try to keep my composure, but probably not. So you're gonna see a pro Packer, but I'm gonna stream the game tomorrow. I didn't stream last week because I had my
The Hell in a Cell.
no, well that and I was with my granddaughter and
Mhm.
grandson. So, well, I'll try to stream all the games. If there's a game on Monday night, I'm doing Raw. Do not worry, I will not fail you guys. I will not stop doing my wrestling streams. That's what I started with. That's where I'm going with. So, but yes, I'm going to do the games tomorrow.
So, 20-minute answer, which could have just been answered with, yes, I am. So check out the Cold Bone Show tomorrow for the Packer game. And we shall see you then. Have a great night, folks.